Welcome back to Bulletproof Mindset, Scotland's #1 health, fitness and entertainment podcast. So today's episode is episode 1 in the new chapter of life of the solo journey that is Bulletproof Mindset. Today's episode, I'll keep this short and sweet. I'm diving a little bit deeper into my thoughts on James leaving the podcast and what the lesson is in him kind of leaving and going off on his lonesome. But before we get into it, I just want to say from both myself and James, look, a huge thank you to everyone that has joined us on the journey, especially you guys that have listened to us from day one. We wouldn't be anywhere without your attention, without you supporting us, the likes, the shares, the comments, the ratings. We just want to say from the bottom of our heart, we thank you all. So without further ado, we'll get straight into today's episode. Well, here we go. First episode of the new dynamic, or episode 184. I think I've got that right. Now, if you've been living under a rock, you might be thinking, what is Dale talking about? Well, you'll notice that there isn't a second voice on the show anymore, because sadly, James has decided to step away from the podcast indefinitely and go off and focus on his own coaching business and becoming an even better coach than he already is. So I thought in today's episode we would maybe dive deeper into what has happened. Like why has he decided to step away from a really successful podcast, if I don't mind, so if I don't say so myself. Well, there's a lot actually that I want to unpack in today's episode, and it's obviously going to be certainly different. I'm going to be a wee bit rusty here as well, because for the first time in over 180 episodes, I don't have a co-host to like bounce off of. And everyone always says that the solo podcast game is a hard one to do, and I can already see why a couple of minutes in. I want to take these long pauses, but now I can't sip my coffee or take a drink of water without kind of, I don't know, feeling awkward of these long pauses and silences. So what has happened? Why has James decided to step away from this super successful health and fitness podcast? And the simple answer to this is it's just not for him anymore. And this is probably what I really want to unpack in this episode, because there's a lot of lessons that you can take away, whether you're working on your health and fitness journey, or you're a personal trainer, or you've got your own business. No matter what you do, there's actually a little bit of silver lining and a lesson or multiple lessons that you can learn from. So I think I'm reading between the lines here. So me and James has obviously had a really good in-depth conversation, and I want to say first things first, that to James, from the bottom of my heart, he is other than Jillian, my wife, Lewis, my brother, James is the other person who is consistently in my life as a best friend. And that can be quite, I don't know what's the word I'm looking for. I was going to say sad. It's not sad, but when you're kind of pursuing this entrepreneurship or this, I don't know, self-employment journey, where you're working on yourself, you're working on your business, it's hard. It takes up a lot of your time, and I guess there's a part within that I've been so grateful to have someone along that journey with me, and James has been that guy for me. He's been my backbone, my co-host, my gym partner at times as well, and it's been great sharing that journey with him. Now, to go into a deeper conversation here that as I said, myself and James has had, I think ultimately James has just came to the realisation that doing a podcast and the time, energy and effort that has to go into podcasting is actually taken away from his mission, his goal that he set out to do, and that is coach and help as many people as he can become healthier and stronger. And he's always wanted to do that, be from a coaching perspective, from actually working with people on a one-to-one basis. And the podcast can be quite exposing, and the OG listeners will know for sure that myself and James have opened up a lot, and I'd probably say more so James about the life struggles and life lessons that he's personally gone through as well. And although it's great to be vulnerable, I think it's also a hard thing to like just put out there. And there's a lot of pressure that can come along with that. But putting that to the side, I know that's not the reason why, or the main reason why James is wanting to step away. I think ultimately it comes down to the effort and time. And if I take you back to what happened 2 years ago and how this whole podcast thingy started, I was working in a gym, and this was my first year of being a coach, and I was doing pretty well. I kind of hit the ground running and had a lot of good support from the gym that I was working in, Gym 24, by the way. And I worked with some fantastic personal trainers. James then comes wandering in about, when was this? This was about April time 2 years ago, and is looking for a job and ends up getting a job in Gym 24. And he starts filming content. And this was the first time another personal trainer in the same facility that I was working in was like recording videos, talking to the camera. Some of the guys did do that, but if anyone's tried to do that, you'll know yourself. It's really nerve-wracking to do. One, in a public gym, and two, when you're so new to this game, it's fucking extremely humbling. And James was the first person I seen do this. And I was like, oh, this is cool. So we started speaking. Of course, he was deadlifting, he was squatting, not as much as me. And when we got talking, it kind of we just had it straight away. We had very similar interests, and I could see that this was a guy with a lot of fire and passion towards helping people getting stronger through compound lifts. It was that simple. So that conversation in the short space of like a couple of weeks evolved into, here, do you want to make a couple of videos together? So we made one of the first videos, which was a gym series of, what was it? It was like stupid debates. I think it was like pre-workout. James was all for, it was lifting belts. James was all for lifting belts and I was against them. And this is way back when we were pretty naive to like this black and white thinking. And we made this video, and in the back of my mind, two big dreams of mine that I've had throughout my 20s was, one, quitting my corporate job and becoming a full-time personal trainer, and two, starting my own podcast. They were two things that I was very committed to doing this time 2 years ago, but hadn't pulled the trigger on the podcast just yet because, in all honesty, I was a wee bit nervous at doing this myself. So anyway, me and James are kind of, we're doing this, we're doing these videos together, and one of them pops off, and Gavin Mcginty, if you guys don't know him, he has had a podcast called Chat Shit Get Cancelled, which ironically, as of the point of recording this, he's decided to stop doing anymore as well. I don't know what's in there. It's a bunch of gimps, if you ask me. No, but joking aside, like he, again, he's wrapping up his podcast or putting a pause on the podcast because of, I guess, similar things to what James is feeling just now. But kind of going back to that, we were invited onto his podcast, and to us, we seen Gavin like this big influencer guy, and we're like, holy shit, why are we going on a podcast? Like, what the fuck what do we know? What sort of stories can we tell? So we go on this podcast, and in the back of my mind, I'm like, okay, this will be quite cool to see what podcasting's like. Anyway, we go on it, we have such a great day, and by the end of it, I'm like, wow, that was so cool to do. I want to do that now. So one of the next videos me and James record is, I think it was one on pre-workout, it was about squats vs leg press, right? And me and James are in the gym. We've made a bunch of videos so far, and we're getting a wee bit of traction online here. And James said something about the leg press, and I'd said something about the squats, and we're going back and forth about powerlifting. And I said to James, I was like, this would be a fucking good conversation to have on a podcast. Would you ever be up for doing a podcast? And James, in the good the good manner that he is, he's like, aye, let's fucking go for it. And that was it. We kind of came together and came up with the name Bulletproof Mindset, and we just started recording episodes. And bear in mind, at this point, we only know each other for 2 months. So here we are 2 years later, or almost 2 years later, 2 years later from meeting each other. I think we're a year and 8 months, 180 episodes of multiple thousands and thousands of hours spent together. And it's a wee bit emotional. It's a wee bit sad not to continue this journey with him anymore. But I just want to put that so you're in the frame of mind of how this whole thing started. And the main thing I want to highlight is that starting out the podcast and doing that has been great growth for both myself and James on becoming better communicators, understanding or meeting different people and understanding different perspectives, saying some things and then actually going back and revisiting that topic and realising, here, I didn't actually communicate that well. So it's been such a great experience to level up who we are as people. But ultimately, it's been my goal and that's been my dream. And as much as I'm living that just now, it's not been James's. And I think that's where he's at. He's kind of assessing what he wants to do with his life and his business, and the podcast just isn't a part of it anymore. Now, the one thing you need to kind of realise with podcasting is it's not just sitting down for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4, 5, 6 hours a week and hitting record and just talking and just going with it. There's a lot in the back end that you need to think about. There's a lot of editing, there's a lot of production. There's then the brain power and the back end stuff when it comes to how do we grow this platform? How do we create clips? How do we choose the right clips? When do we post? What captions do we use? Have we done the uploads? There's just an endless amount of to-dos when it comes to podcasting. And I'd maybe say there's, from the work that we put into this, there's maybe a combination of 20 hours, 20, 25 hours off the back of 2 episodes that we record a week that's needed. And you might think, well, fuck, that's fuck all, that's not a lot. But within that, there's a lot of brain power. And that brain power, energy, and time is time that's taken away from other tasks. So for me, yes, that's time taken away from other things that I'll be working on at times, like my coaching or my one-to-ones. But I feel that because it's a dream and a passion of mine, and I've also built and invested a lot of money into this place of having my own studio and things like that, James doesn't have that desire or dream to be a podcaster, and that can be quite hard to show up to. Now this is quite hard. I might be speaking on his behalf, but reading between the lines, I think this is really what it comes down to. And the lesson here is that, I mean, me and James have a fantastic relationship. We are best of friends, and the chemistry that we have is it's weird that we click so well for only knowing each other for a short period of time. But as I said, he's the closest person in my life other than my wife and my brother, and so this is like, he is family to me. And as emotional as it is to go through, man, not going to have someone here, I think there's a lesson in there that's maybe overlooked here, and it's that no matter how deep you are into something, and a business relationship is just as hard as a marriage or a relationship. 2 people have to keep showing up. 2 people have to be committed to the goals and the I don't know, the main driver of why we do what we do, and that can cause fallouts, and that can cause arguments, and that can cause a lot of tension. And I'm so grateful that me and James have never really had too many in fact, we've never had a big blowout argument. We've maybe disagreed and went back and forth on certain things, but it's always came from a place of respect. And over the last couple of months, I've kind of felt it in the podcast space when I'm really trying to push the growth of the podcast, and didn't feel that James was committed to that as well. And that wasn't him purposely not committing to it. I think he was trying to show up, but he just couldn't, because he's like, I would rather be speaking to my clients or helping my clients with their motivation, not helping the podcast with the motivation, if that makes sense. So as a man, and or as a person, should I say, having the confidence and belief and desire in going after your goals and realizing the path that you're on isn't the path that's taking you to where you need to be, and confronting that awkward conversation, I think is something that we can all go, well, you know what? Nothing actually has to be indefinite. So, I mean, if you look at this from the outside looking in, if James just went, fuck it, I'll half-arse this podcast and just do the bare minimum of what I need to do, but spend on other things, that would cause us to fall out. It would cause us probably to have a bad breakup. And when I kind of compare this to relationships, when I compare it to any other parts of any whether it's a business relationship or a partner relationship, you can kind of see why there's similarities in someone owning up and going, here, look, I'm really trying to make this work, but I'm not on the same path. I don't want to do this anymore. And mate, this isn't just an off the win kind of decision that James has made. Me and James have went back and forth on this decision on the role that he plays within the podcast. We've had this conversation I've had a number of times over the last year where certain things has been going on, and James felt kind of that the podcast, he wasn't, not that he wasn't committed, but at the time he's like, I don't know if the podcast is for me. And I'm not trying to talk him into it, but I'm not wanted to push him away either, because it's the last thing I wanted would be James to walk away from this. But ultimately this time round, looking at it and going, you know what, the way he's communicated now, I can understand, and I can actually show a lot of respect, because there's respect both ways of, you're absolutely right. It doesn't make sense for you to keep on this journey of podcasting for the goals and the desires that you want to have in life. And there has to be a massive amount of respect both ways for that. But also, James's communication skills were never great to start with, but they are where he's at, and how confident and who he is as a person is quite remarkable to watch. And it's great to see someone so confident in themselves to go, here, look, I love you. We've spent 2 years of our life trying to grow this. I don't think it's for me anymore, and I'm going to be stepping away from it, knowing that can, I guess this is why we work so well, because I can only imagine what this same conversation looks like in other business partnerships, where someone decides to pull out of something that they've been working. 2 years of someone's life's a lot of time, but I don't see any of that as a waste of time. I actually see it's all something that we've both been committed to, and sadly, I guess it just means that the next part of this chapter is doing it myself. And that's another point I kind of wanted to raise on this, that being on your business journey is quite lonesome. And I think this is maybe one of the biggest insecurities I've got with life, I guess. I don't have a lot of people in my life, but I certainly have have good, dependable relationships with people I do. And James is one of them, and I would have loved to keep growing this platform with him, but it's time. It's the right decision to make, to definitely grow this platform on my own and continue to impact and inspire more people with their health and fitness. So yeah, it's gonna be weird. The dynamic is for sure gonna change. I know there's already some comments coming through saying, oh, the podcast just got 50% uglier or 100% uglier. Right, we get it. I know there was a lot of single ladies listening to this as well because of James, so the viewership is gonna go down. I don't have a lot of banter, let's be honest, right? James brought the banter to the show. James also brought the erratic, fucking mad conversations to the show. So I can't promise that that's going to show up, but it may from time to time. He may even come on for a surprise guest episode, but I think a lot of people will be messaging him, I'm sure, saying, like, can't believe you're stepping away, and don't step away. Like, come on, like, why are you giving up? And I think I wanted to do this episode to say, look, this isn't James giving up on anything. This is James moving on to the next chapter in his life. And I think I am always going to be a big supporter of his, as he is of mine. And I'm sure if it is something that you're maybe thinking, oh, he's just gave up in that, like, show your support in that next chapter of his life as well. Circling this back to what happens next then. Well, as I said earlier on, the whole idea of this being one of the dreams that I wanted to live, and the ideas and the goals that I wanted to fulfill, I'm still going to go forward with 2 episodes per week, Monday and Thursday, 6 a.m, the usual time. Now, the episodes probably will be a little bit shorter. I've got a couple of ideas on what I'm going to play about with over the next couple of weeks and months and whatnot. What we will do, or what I will do, I need to stop saying we, because there's no we. This is a solo venture now. Is bring on guests from time to time. Maybe every second or third week I'll try and get a guest on. I've got some conversations happening with some amazing minds in the space when it comes to health and fitness, but also just impactful stories and business owners, because there's a lot of lessons that we can all learn from different walks of life, and that's the great thing with collabing with someone that you can bring on your show and interview them with. So 2 episodes per week. Guest episodes will be on a Thursday, and the other episodes will just be Monday and Thursday, the usual times. As I said, probably going to be a little bit shorter. I actually don't know how well I can speak on my own for how long, but I guess we'll find out. And yeah, I guess with all that, there's not going to be much more to say on this matter. So I hope you guys who have listened and have joined us on this journey, I hope that makes sense, because I guess it's like listening to a podcast, and as much as a lot of you guys love both of us, some of you might not love me. So who knows what will happen to this. One thing I can promise you, and I've said this on the show many times, that I am 100% committed to always showing up for you, always trying to deliver the best information and the best or diving deep into topics with the most amount of integrity that I can. I'll never just shortchange an episode, and what I mean by that is just kind of reading headline facts and just kind of, I don't know, spouting shite. I mean, I can't promise I won't spout shite, but I want to have a lot of integrity and provide a lot of value for you who give me your ultimate asset, which is your time. Throw in a little bit of humour, tell some stories and personal life updates and what is going on with clients and business and all this sort of stuff for you guys who are interested. But the mission of the path that I'm on is it's as simply put as helping as many people as I possibly can get healthier, fitter and stronger through lifting weights. I'm a big believer of that message, and it's something I'm going to continue to do through the podcast. It's something I'm going to continue to do through the workshops, through the coaching that I do, and I hope you'll join me on that journey as well. I just want to say as well, from the bottom of my heart, a big thank you to everyone who has joined us on this journey thus far. And although it's going to look a bit different going forward, it doesn't mean the quality or the value should drop. We'll just be missing a very what's the word you would? I'm trying to think what would be the word you can sum up James in one sentence. I actually don't think it's possible, because his character is someone that it's of someone that you could never. You would not. I don't even know what I'm trying to say, but ultimately James's character is one of the most remarkable people that I've ever met. So open and so outgoing, and it's certainly going to be missed on the show. But on to a new chapter. What I will say is, if you haven't already followed James on social media, make sure you follow him, because I'm sure what he does next is going to be even more remarkable. He talks it right now. He's talking about he needs to become a good coach, and I think there's maybe a lack of self-belief there, because what I see and the attention that he gives to his clients and how he shows up for them, he is an amazing coach, and he will continue to be an amazing coach and go to an unstoppable height of being that undeniable. I think is going to be his probably tagline that he uses: undeniable coach. An undeniable coach. I'm already slipping up words. So yeah, so make sure you head over to his Instagram, give him a little follow at James Mcginty PT. And for you guys who will stick around and continue to give me the support, or give the show the support, as I said, that is my promise to you. We'll need your support now more than ever. It's going to be a hard journey, but it's one that I'm prepared to face. And as much as it's probably going to be a lot more lonelier That's why I'll need your support to get me through these conversations. So putting that to one side, if you've got any questions, any topics, any guests that you would like us to have here on the show, then make sure you are also following me at Bulletproof Mindset __, or you can follow the coaching page or my personal page that is at Coach Crosser. So there we go, first one done. Teared up a few times there if you're watching on YouTube. Let's see if you can spot which one. Hopefully I held the quivers in my voice all right. But look, I'll end it here. The last thing I'll finish on, if you haven't already supported the show, or if you haven't already subscribed to the show on YouTube or left a 5-star rating on Apple Podcast and Spotify, look, now's your time, Or you might want to leave a lower rating because James is gone. That's okay too. But until next time, I'll see you on the next one.